Mr. George Dowderman, it's good to see you after a few weeks of not being here live with
Yes,
you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. Getting ready for summertime, getting doing a lot of stuff. Just enjoying life. How about yourself, Matt?
I'm
Good to see
I'm
you
doing.
again.
First, good to see you. I was gonna say we're looking pretty fly today. We're well coordinated. Got the
I
branding
see
on
that.
for
I see
this.
it. I know.
Ooh, that's a
Love it.
nice shirt. Where'd you get that shirt?
I don't know. Some gentleman helped me put it together for our branded apparel.
Oof, branded apparel. That is a term I can get behind. But that's not why we're here today. First of all, unfortunately, Megan's not with us
Yes.
today. She'll be back next time. And yeah, we're here. You can see that we've cleaned house a little bit, kind of put up some new window treatments, if you will. If the window treatments, walls, I don't know what these are going to be here, but it looks nice.
Yeah.
It's part of some of the updated branding we're going to have up on our website in the coming weeks. And let's get started. Let's play a little interview, George. Why don't you tell me a little about this Valiant technology that you're always talking about?
Valiant Technology. Well, Valiant Technology, we're a managed service provider here located in New York, but we have a nationwide reach. We service customers throughout the United States. We have a lot of focus in creative and nonprofit companies. We've been doing it for almost 20 years now. So if you have any, and we do a lot of work in the cybersecurity space for small and medium businesses. So and that's why the topic today is really near and dear to my heart, and one that most people might find not super exciting, but I think it's really exciting.
It may not be the most exciting topic, but it's one that really helps you feel good about the work that's being done when it's handled properly. It's a
Yeah,
foundational necessity for businesses, as far as I'm concerned. It's a foundational necessity for this business itself, not just the ones that
correct.
we work for, but all businesses.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today?
So,
NIST. Oh, please, yes. No,
oh
I was,
no.
I was, I was being rhetorical. I was setting myself up. No,
Yes, we are. I'll be unrhetorical. I will say we are actually working on our last episode. We talked about cybersecurity frameworks as a whole and what they do and the mission that what they try to accomplish. But in this, but today, as we kind of got some feedback and discussed internally, realized that just talking about them in this kind of very generic, like, well, it's a framework and you follow it and implement it.
that's how you talk about sandwiches.
Right. I mean, it's not the way you would say, "Hey, this is a really in-depth business alignment tool and risk management." So, one of the things that we wanted, the feedback we got was to kind of go deeper into the what's called the NIST CSF. The NIST, which is the National Institute for Standards and Technology, and the CSF stands for when you say NIST CSF framework, it's kind of like saying, Ferrari, La Ferrari. It's the cybersecurity framework. So it's a very similar kind of thing, but the idea is that it's it's a baseline starting point to build a cybersecurity program in your industry, in your business, that aligns to multiple frameworks and is very extensible. So you can apply that. The things you start here are not wasted. Yeah, we're starting from scratch. There's some really great analogs to other frameworks, and the cybersecurity framework really ties into 5 components. And so I think that the one we're going to start off with is identify. And why identify?
If nothing else, if anything else sits on top of a process as important as the identification of what it is you're going to work with, it will be
Correct.
flawed. You're never going to want to build a multi-story building on top of a foundation that has cracks in it. We know
Correct.
it's going to lead to. Sorry, doing a lot of risk mitigation around the house lately.
Exactly. I see that. No
But that's
termites,
exactly
hopefully.
what it is. If
Right.
you have termites, you don't bother getting a new roof. You don't change the walls. You get rid of the termites and you make sure they can't come
Correct.
back. Otherwise, all the investment you put into that house is going to eventually go down to zero.
And deeper than that is we're going to keep this like kind of termite analog going. The idea is that you wouldn't fix you have to identify the fact that you have termites. Um,
Yeah.
And then you would say, okay, in terms of my risk, the highest level risk is, yeah, these termites are going to eat the house from inside out, and we're not going to worry about window treatments. So until we get this, and I think what does it helps, and the framework helps put together a plan to identify and work through those things. So there's some light reading if you want to check it out. There's a URL we can get to in this cybersecurity framework. I think it's pretty straightforward. We'll put it up in a little bit. But I think what it really comes down to is that once you start working on this, it can get really overwhelming really fast. And the kind of you have to, I always have to use the old saw of how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So we want to, it's kind of a terrible image, but we want to just really break it down into some small pieces that help us understand it. So, and one other thing I just want to throw out here, let's not forget our friend the old CII triad, confidentiality. What else is it, Matt?
Confidentiality
Integrity
and
and
availability.
availability.
That's
Right.
it.
And
Wow,
I think
you're trying to catch me off guard in our first new episode with all these new decorations and no
I just
termites. We got new windows, we got new walls, and you're gonna do that to me?
I'm just
That's
getting
okay.
I'm just getting the excitement level up high. But really what it is these are all pieces of the CI triad and they all kind of align to it and identify in the framework touches all of those. So
Mhm.
let's kind of get into the identify bit a little more closely. All right. So Matt, I know you prepared a lot of the stream. I know I put some content in here, and um, in your mind, what is identify? How would you define it?
Awareness. You have to be
Right.
aware of your surroundings and able to be and able to be and able to be able to interact with them. Wow, that
Right.
was a little bit of a tongue twister I gave myself there.
Right.
And if you're unable to identify what it is that you have, how do you expect to protect it? That's really
Correct.
what this comes down to. And it's difficult. I mean, it's really easy to go into a room and say, "Hey, there's a computer here, and there's a computer here, and there's a computer here." That's not really a computer, but I'm just going to pretend it is for the moment. And that's great. They're physical devices taking up space in a room, but what are the components in them? How old are they? Are they up to date? Are there known vulnerability issues? None of that's going to be known until you properly identify what you have. And I think
Correct.
that's the first step, or at least the logical step in my mind, is inventory. That's really a big part of this.
Yep. The first really important piece, and I'll use the official term for it, is asset management. But the idea is that we want to know the pieces of our environment. And so, one of the things that we say a lot, and you'll hear it quite a bit from a lot of cybersecurity folks or just IT folks in general, is you can't protect what you don't know. If you're not aware of it, you have no idea what it is. How many times have you read a breach or about an incident where people had no idea that there was a system here or there was an access control or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
because no one's ever really identified it. So the identify component is deeper than just the asset management, but I think part of what we want to do is kind of keep it a little bit more focused in that area because that's the spot where you can really get started. But just to kind of give it a overview of the 5 top level categories in the identify component. It's asset management, business environment. That's a really generic term for like what's happening inside an organization, and all the different partners you may have, and all the other pieces that are like are critical, so that as you start working your program that you can say like we need to have this kind of use an old fashioned term, our exchange server for email needs to be up and running because that's how we communicate with our clients. So yes, exactly, thank you Tim, exactly 100%. And the 100%. And I was going to say I made a note for myself to say in a later part when we go deeper into asset management is about the software. I think
Oh,
that hardware is the
hardware is
obvious.
easy. Hardware is tangible. Software is
Correct.
not. And software is also going to be the place where you're going to have other liabilities outside of just wanting to identify related to licensing and other fees. But what I really wanted to just jump in because we do have a younger part of the workforce here with us today. We've got Michael, and he was saying that Excel spreadsheets, and you can use other sites for asset management. You certainly can. I think there's a whole like spectrum of things that you can do.
Yeah.
And one thing that I had done in my younger days as an IT director was I had and help me out with this because I can't quite remember. I think they were called the WASP barcode scanner,
Oh yeah,
right? And
there's a whole
we
inventory
used to
system for them.
yeah, we used to barcode all of our gear, and if someone needed a new machine, it wasn't leaving the cage that it was in until I had it scanned.
Right.
And that was a fantastic way of taking care of the hardware side. But again, like you said, the software is equally important, if not more
Yeah,
so, and has some more pitfalls that come along with it if not handled properly.
exactly. So just to kind of finish our little bits, just so as we want to make sure that they're kind of important to say.
Mhm.
Governance, having policies, knowing where everything is, how the customers are, how your environments are configured, and it's risk assessment, kind of knowing what vulnerabilities, scanning, understanding that, and finally, you really want to have a supply chain risk. What things could potentially hurt your business and hurt your operational. And Tim, exactly right. RMM tools help, but it won't grab everything, which we'll kind of get into our next phase of things when we start talking about it. So there's a lot of, and once again, if you start looking at the framework more closely, if you actually look at the framework, these 5 top level components really get broken down into much more sophisticated or much more dial in subcategories, which you can get into the weeds on real fast. So it's really important to kind of take a deep breath, start somewhere, and just start eating that elephant.
And well, that's what the framework's there. That the framework is the somewhere to start from. That is the anchor point to begin. And I'll tell you, we're getting comments coming in from Golden over compliance risks. And this is, compliance has always been something that's gotten to me in a I'd rather not deal with it kind of thing. It's not it's not what I do anymore. Is I guess what I'm saying as far as the hands-on work. But speaking with Tim and learning a lot more about CSF over the past 6 months has been amazing. And so I just want to thank him because he's on here today. And we'll have to have him kind of join us for a conversation in the future. But let's talk a little bit about how we actually do these things for small businesses. That's what I want to hear, because I'm the marketing guy. You're going to do my job for me right now. Tell me how I do it.
I try. And once again, these are not, I would say, this is not rocket science.
It's not simple.
It's simple, but it's really hard because it's asset management, it's assessments, it's policy. And those are things that people don't necessarily want to work on. It's not sexy. It's not the cool part of it. It's not the piece that you can go out and be like, here's a product that solves the problem in a second. I think that's one of the in our industry. I think we suffer from a lot of the issue that people want a turnkey solution, and reality is this is such a deeper piece of it. I think we need, it starts with this inventory system, but it keeps going and going. And thank you, Megan. That's right. Don't test. Restart. Start with your inventory, both software and hardware. And then start with the business processes, things that matter. One of the things that we always work with the customers is trying like, hey, what stuff do you have? Like, how do you do things? Like, what matters to you?
How do you keep the lights on? How does it's talking about cash flow coming in, where it goes to take care of the expenses of their vendors and utilities and other items.
Right.
That becomes such an important a part of this process. Again, general visibility into operations.
Right. And a lot of how we do when we start working more closely with the customers, as we start working with them, a lot of this is working is to get started. You kind of understand the environment, assess it at face value, and then start working with the leadership team or someone who speaks with the voice of the leadership team. Really what it is we got to keep this in mind that this is not an IT function. This is a critical business function. It's exactly the same as for senior leadership in my mind as how they assess financial risk, physical risk, existential risk to the business. It's the same category. I think really smart leaders kind of will kind of acknowledge it and
make the correlation between that and other components.
And to make part of the plan. And so really what we want to do is just start by figuring out what's there. We use this variety of tools. We use our RMM tools. We use some other discovery tools.
George, for the audience, why don't you tell us a little bit about what an RMM tool is?
Oh, RMM is a remote management monitoring tool. A lot of MSPs or IT service organizations use them to manage things, manage systems. They are not the end all be all, as opposed to what people will always say. It's part of a process, and I think exactly right, Drew. It's once a year, exactly. And then Tim hit another good point. It's people, process, tools come after you to find what you want to get done. I think when I was learning in IT, when I was being mentored, one of my mentor always said, write out what you want done. Don't worry about the software. Don't worry about the tool. Don't worry about anything. And figure out the manual process to get it done, and then you flow the tools in after you're done, so that you don't confuse the tool and what the tool is supposed to do with the end goal. And the end goal here really comes down to is using your RMM tools, using your software analytic tools, using your documentation platforms, and some of your in-house developed pieces that align to the cybersecurity frameworks that you're using here at CFS, and then working with leadership and truly getting into their business and being that I've been working IT for 20 plus years, and for all 20 years, people said we had to get out of the server room and into the boardroom. And I think this is one of the places that truly is impactful for businesses, because, especially for MSPs in particular, because we have to get past, our job really has become this infrastructure security and almost a general contractor, where then we bring in specialists for very specialized tools or specialized things we need to get done. So I think that's really what happens here at Valiant. And a lot of it is we develop some of our own processes to get people on board, develop policies with them that are actually enforceable. Um, I'll
Machine
say that
enforceable.
machine enforceable and constantly enforceable using. And I think one thing that's important is that there's no thing worse than a policy that you're not enforcing, because then it becomes something that will be used in, let's say, an incident, and that's a really bad place.
Just to kind of bring it into a real world analogy, no one wants to go into a restaurant where you see the employees must wash their hands sign and a completely dry sink and a full thing of paper towels.
That's a very unpleasant
Visceral,
thought,
kind of, yeah.
Matt. But I
But
think I hit the nail on
it's
the head.
very
Yeah,
realistic. No one
very
wants to
realistic.
have to deal with that.
It's true, and I think that's a lot of it. So, I mean, once again, this is and I think another thing point that matter is this: um, all cybersecurity programs are just that, they're programs. They're long term commitments by companies to safeguard their people, their processes, their data, their customers, their
The
vendors,
product,
their
absolutely.
product, the whole thing. So it's not a one and done. It's a iterative, ongoing process. I think that really matters. So um, I think that really what it comes down to is get that leadership sponsorship. Truly get it. Like, people have to really bite into it, and create cross. The other piece that's important here, and this is to kind of wrap up the kind of thought on this little small piece of it, is cross your business communications. Silos are really bad in businesses in general, but in this place it's really bad, because you'll find that people just do stuff that could expose risk or cause problems. And I think just keep breaking down a silo. Be that person that goes across the multiple disciplines in the business or the operation team, and understand it, document it, and constantly review and improve it. Mature it. It becomes part of that life cycle of operational maturity in a business, where they start, you start at a very nascent place, ad hoc. There's nothing documented. No one knows what's going on. And as you grow and as you become more mature, it becomes documented. You start sharing information. You start working with outside organizations. You bring in the right people to do the right things. And over time, you can develop a very strong program that will allow you to be more competitive, allow you to have a better sense of control over if something does
It,
happen.
it allows your business to have less drag, I think is a good way
Correct.
of putting it.
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of folks might not see this as a net positive for a business, but um, after working with businesses that have suffered breaches and in this incident, it's a very massive disruption. Is even if you do survive the breach, the cost of the business can be very high, not just in real dollars, but it could be also in the mental and emotional momentum the business has, and those things matter. You see this all the time. If people don't have a belief in what they're doing, or they don't have faith in it, they're not going to do it. So,
Mhm.
that's an awesome point, Drew. It's so true, and that we'll get that in our next piece as we talk about the protect component. That's our next piece. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk about protect. Protect is a really interesting component, because that's the part where people see a lot of the action of the CSF framework. But I think what's interesting about protect is that it also includes what Drew was saying about training and visibility inside an organization, so people don't know they're doing something wrong as they do it. And so I think that's a really good place that we can hopefully wrap this up in our very, very top level discussion of this.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't said anything today because I've been listening to every single word of yours. This
Oh,
is, I was gonna come back and have something, big. I was gonna, I don't know, protect. It's gonna be a big one. I'm gonna have some Michael Bay sized explosions first or something.
I hope so.
Um,
I hope so. But Matt, you had a
do we
really
have the
great.
budget for it?
We budget. Don't worry.
Because I don't know if anyone noticed, but in that intro that will be updated today, I'm only between one fern. I really wanted to be between two.
Two ferns. I understand you and Zach Galifianakis.
Exactly.
But Ashley, you had a great thing you wanted to share with everyone today from when you were a child.
Oh yeah, this was amazing. On the way into the city today from where I live in Long Island, I ran into one of my favorite teachers ever, Mr. Johnson, and he was my teacher all of high school, from all of my Regents courses to pre-calc to AP Calc, finite math when I was in that class for a little while, computer science. Him and I started the computer science club at Amityville High School back in like 1998, which is hilarious because I got a bowling trophy for it. It's got a bowler on it, but it says like computer science club.
Awesome.
But he is one of the greatest educators I've ever had the opportunity or the luck to be a student of. And look, I graduated high school in 1999, and the guy saw me at the platform of the train station, recognized me immediately because, I've had a mustache like this for 25, 30 years. And we had a conversation. It was just really great to see him. And, had I not had him as a teacher, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this work today. I mean, he spec'd out my first Windows PC.
So, it's amazing. As I said, we have always different mentors in our life that help us kind of grow and get, and sometimes you don't recognize it while you're being mentored at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back, you're like, man, that's 20 years ago, and that was really important.
And actually, we have a young professional here, Michael, who just made a really great comment saying it's kind of important to be called out on your mistakes, even if you didn't mean to. And that's very important. That's something George will do to me, and trust me, I have fun doing to him every now and then. And Mr. Johnson would be very, very quick to point something out and give the corrective actions and explanation, not just the how, but the why. And that's so important. I think that's a lot of what we do with the stream as well. So I just wanted to kind of bring it back full circle.
And just to put a cap on that point of feedback, feedback's a really important piece of this. And I think the other piece is if people do something wrong or they don't understand something, in the organization, it should be very open, almost like where people aren't punished for bringing something forward. There's nothing scarier than people being afraid of being punished or retaliated against for saying, "Hey, I made a mistake. I clicked on something. I did something wrong, or I didn't understand this." Because if we can eliminate that fear, people will be more upfront, and they will report things, and we'll utilize the training we give people to understand things better, which we'll get into protect. So just to kind of wrap it up in a little bit to kind of bring back this CSF. So awesome. We hope that everyone got something good out of this. We want to continue these small but kind of powerful messaging around this so people understand a little more about the process and these kind of tools. A lot of times they get buried into a really complex jargon. And we want to keep it as jargon-free as possible because I did it today. Matt got me on the RMM one. So it's really important to make it accessible to business leaders and staff and people so they understand what this means and how it impacts them. So
and honestly, the more you understand about how it can allow you to do your job better, the more exciting it kind of gets to understand more of how to actually make it happen within your business.
Yep.
So that's the other part of it. But let's call it a day for now. Next time we're back, which is in 2 weeks, we're going to go into a summer schedule for a little bit. So we're going to be every other week until September 1st, I believe it is. We're going to be talking about Protect, like you said. We'll make our way through the rest of NIST CSF. I think that we may interrupt that kind of like workflow once or twice to add some other interesting bits and pieces in since it is summertime. Maybe we'll have something that's a little more fun. I'm looking to get some people on. I'm going to just say it now, Tim, you're going to come on here sooner or later. So just get ready.
Yes.
And I'm looking to have some folks from the different security vendors that we work with, our partner companies, on with us as well over the next couple of months. So I'm psyched, and I want to hit end broadcast on the stream so I can get back to finishing up our new website.
Awesome. Excellent. As always, Matt, thanks for putting this all together. As always, love the new bumpers. And looking forward to doing this in 2 weeks on Protect. So
let's just check last comment. Hold on. Is there anything?
Is Tim laughing out loud?
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
All right, folks. You have a great one. Megan will be back with us in a couple of weeks, and we'll see you then.
Super. Thanks, everyone. Have a great 4th of July.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.